I focus on medium terms because some of the things I don't think we can change it quickly. Short-termism, I don't think we can change it quickly. Micromanagement, I don't think we can change it quickly. So what I want to suggest is stimulate VC funds. Okay, Hong Kong has large amount of government reserve. Even only invest 1 or 2% of that for private equity or VC would be able to stimulate a lot of more investment on early stage and lift the prudent man rule on the endowments. If the first one is possible, then the second one makes sense because when you have more VC firms, you need people to advise the pension funds, endowments to invest in the VC companies. It happened in the States, okay? And so we need professional qualifications to have advisors to advise these pension funds to invest on the areas on the useful funds, okay? And having these professionals would stimulate the investment of VCs on early stage. The third one is to stimulate more angel investment. Fourth, to diversify the background of the general partners, I think if the first and second recommendations was possible, meaning the government started to allow some government money to go into some venture capital firm, we could have a mandate suggesting that the VC firm must have certain kind of background of partners in order to receive some of these government money, and that may stimulate some of the VC firms to diversify the background of the general partners. And lastly, probably the most difficult one is that since the Hong Kong stock market is not interested, they're only interested in attracting large companies to be listed in the stock market, maybe we need to find an alternative for the technology firms from Hong Kong.
The venture capital world has several problems. The first problem with venture capital is it has a dual identity. In the framework that we were looking for with the big study, as Professor Fuller had outlined, venture capital is an institution, not an industry that is itself a candidate for, kind of targeted growth, but rather a mechanism by which innovation is enabled. It's one of the channels in which entrepreneurs are able to obtain the capital that they need in order to commercialize their technologies and create, the companies around them. But venture capital is itself an industry cluster, not just a single industry, but a cluster of related industries. The other side of education, though, is for the venture capital industry itself, for the investment, broadly spoken. There are almost no real high-risk venture investor education programs anywhere that I have been able to find. The kinds of items that must be addressed, one would be expectations in regard to return. Certainly the high risk that's involved in angel and venture capital investing means that the investors will only look at firms that are seeking a very high return. A venture capitalist in Silicon Valley told me that they're only interested in companies that can reach $500 million in sales within 5 years. So that's, of course, an ideal, and I'm sure that their actual investments may not always follow that pattern. But if you're an entrepreneur starting up a company that doesn't have that kind of possible growth rate, maybe you need to think of a different type of financing. The second area for investors that really is critical is this notion of how they should be involved with the management of the firm. What is the role of an outside board director? How, what are best practices in management and investor relations? And I do think that it's a natural thing that we've seen in Hong Kong. The financial system expertise that is here, on the positive side, means that private equity with complex deals is a natural. It certainly pushes the venture capital role further out toward the later stages, toward the expansion stage, whatever. And that means that there is an increased need for early stage funding either through angels who will, I agree this is medium term because they have to be really educated, and they also have to have a desire to do it. But also I think that for technology commercialization, the role of government probably in the stage of SBIR grants, that type of area may be a very important thing to look at.